Welcome to the Investing Bros. I am T Shroom. And what a weekend we had. A lot of highs, a lot of lows, mostly lows. But we're going to be getting into it and seeing what is next for this crazy world of cryptocurrency. Bitcoin priced to feel more pain. Do we think that we're going to see lower lows than this here for Bitcoin? Or is this the recovery? Is the recovery in? After all, the crypto bubbles are green across the screen, with core up 56.7% here in the early hours of April 15th. It is 9 a.m. We're leading you into the market open here for the New York Stock Exchange, but we're talking crypto, and I'm T Shroom, and we're getting into it here. If you're just joining us for the first time, be sure to subscribe if you like what you're hearing, or if you don't like what you're hearing, and make sure you leave a like. Let's open up the charts here. I've got the 10-year Treasury yields making 2024 highs here. So the yields go ahead and entice investors to buy bonds, right? Now this is a negative, really, for the bond market, and I've always viewed it this way. You shouldn't have to have high yields to get people to buy your bonds, right? People should want to buy bonds because of the fixed rate of return. But anyway, reading too much into it, those returns are coming into the 2024 highs, signaling a potential rotation into bonds from risk stocks and potentially cryptocurrency. I wouldn't call it so fast, but this is something that is being pointed out today in the markets. You know, this could easily come back down, but this is a sign that you can get more for your dollar, right? You can get a higher rate than you could just a few months ago, especially back here down at these lows. And so folks may rotate into bonds to get that higher rate of return of 4.6%. However, there's still a better return here just on the 6-month and the 3-month here Treasuries. So that's a quick snapshot of the Treasuries. You're tuning into the Investing Bros. You're like, T Shroom, shut up about U.S. Treasuries. Who cares? Let's look at Bitcoin. Well, let's do it. Let's take a look here. The big line for me, folks, has been the 64,700 line, 64,800 you can call it. This was crossed, right? We got a candlestick printed below it and a wick well below it down here to 60,080 on the Coinbase exchange. Since then, we have resumed higher, wicking as high as 10%, almost exactly to the dot, 10% upside from then, and the live price from that wick low is 8.5%. Okay. Another important thing to look at here is how much we've sold off from that top wick down to the bottom wick, 16%. So still not getting a full 20% sell-off. Right back here, I believe it was just under 18% wick to wick. Yeah, 17.5 exactly. So it's like, the markets are kind of feeling pain. Bitcoin markets are kind of feeling pain, but it's not even 20. This whole dramatic move has not even been a 20% move, right? And now, if you go from the wick high back here to the present price, it's not even 10% downside. So yes, it feels scary. If you sold for a loss, you're probably kicking yourself. You feel terrible about it. But as I look at this chart, I mean, this is a recovery, right? This is a recovery. Is it the recovery though? Or do we have more price discovery to the downside to see? Okay, from live price down to the first band of the golden pocket would bring us another 11.6% down to 58,350. Okay. And then from that wick high down to the golden pocket would bring us to that exact 20% sell off. So maybe that's what the market needs. Maybe we need a return down here to 58.3. If we said it last week, and we most certainly did, I did say it. Tim has been beating the drum of 58,000. If we said it last week, y'all would have thought we were crazy, and you did, and that's okay. That's why we're here. That's why we're here, for people to call us crazy, even when what we say, what we predict, literally happens the next week. Now, of course, the way that we kind of predict things is that we say that they could happen, right? We're not saying that they are going to happen, and we're not giving reasons necessarily. We obviously couldn't have predicted what happened geopolitically, which I'm going to get into much more than I did on Friday and Saturday here, just in just a second. But what we were doing is setting up ranges, setting up levels, ranges of levels, 58 being, kind of the lowest of which. Now, today on the 3 p.m. stream, we will likely talk about some lower levels than 58, the just-in-case levels, okay? So we're going to take a look at those, not today, but on the 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time show. Make sure you tune in. And one of the best ways to do that is to go ahead and subscribe to this video so that you are locked in and making sure that you're keeping up to date with all the news and developments that matter to you in crypto. I'm also going to talk about my buys here because I scooped up quite a bit of crypto. I had a decent amount of dry powder on the sidelines, and I went ahead and deployed it over the weekend at some of these lows, and it was good to see. I've got the 3-month of Bitcoin pulled up just so that you all can see that on the zoom out, right? When in doubt, zoom out, and when we do, you can see here. I don't know why I have this 42,000 line drawn. That is irrelevant. Don't worry about that. You can see here that we have barely even come and penetrated this T box that you could call, right? This T box put in by this level that I love back here. This is actually 61,006, right? And then all the way back here to 57.7, right? We have only barely wicked into that T box, getting down as low again as 60,007, according to this is Kraken now. So yeah, this should bring you a lot of bullishness, a lot of optimism, because what is this? This is just a classic retest, right? A retest of a former support, right? So, you have your move higher, you come back, you retest support before you go higher, right? We saw it all through here. Come back, retest this level of support before it move higher, right? We're seeing it again because that's how markets work. Maybe it's your first time looking at charts, and that's okay. You're in the right place. I truly believe that. We really try to go out of our way to both appeal to folks who are very advanced and been trading for years, and also folks who've really only opened TradingView and started looking at charts for the first time in their life, right? So whether you're extremely experienced or just a beginner, right, this chart, the zoomed out 3-month of Bitcoin, should give you quite a bit of optimism to see. Oh, and by the way, we're still trading outside of the top line of the Bollinger Band on the monthly. How many other assets in the world right now outside of crypto are trading outside of the Bollinger Band? Probably Coco, maybe NVIDIA. Let's look at NVIDIA really quick. I want to answer this question. Okay, NVIDIA technically is, kind of, right? And in pre-market's actually up, so very, very interesting. Let's look at Microsoft. I bet Microsoft is not trading outside of its top-line Bollinger Band. Nope. It's hugging it, though. It's hugging it and starting to pull back. I think Google might be outside. Nope, it's inside. Okay. T-Shroom getting carried away here on the Investing Bros. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now, if you're watching, you've on Earth, right, and you're watching live, then you've likely heard the headlines that there were some very scary headlines over the weekend. Now talking about war, talking about Iran, talking about Israel, right? Things that you did not tune into a crypto channel to hear about. But I don't want to be a war correspondent. I'm not going to be a war correspondent. But right now, there is an absolute correlation between what is going on in the Middle East and what it could do to oil prices and assets, right? And asset prices. So we have to report on it to some extent. I'm not going to even begin to wade into my opinions on the war, to be honest with you. The first thing I'd say is I don't know enough to really have a super good prediction of what's going to happen or why it should or shouldn't be happening. That's not me. That's not the Investing Bros role, right? Our role, somewhat coldly, is to try to figure out how to profit, try to figure out how to mitigate losses, to try to understand the situation. All right, so I've got pulled up a video here from Peter Zions. Now, some of you are like, Peter Zions. So I will say he's very pro-American. Sometimes he comes across as maybe he's highly incentivized to be pro-American. Am I pro-American? I'm pro-American. I'm an American. But I would not say that I'm as pro-American as Peter Zients is. I preface all that to say that he does sometimes come across as a very strong geopolitical bias towards America and its interest, which aren't the worst interests, I will say. But I do like his opinion here. Let's take a look. Let's take a listen.
Embassy bombing, or the consulate bombing in Damascus. That left the Iranians in a weird position. They have no interest in Gaza. They have no interest in any of the things that they've thrown in Israel until yesterday. But they don't want to see losing face, especially if they're losing senior commanders. And so they launched this assault, but it was the most telegraphed assault that I have ever seen. They announced specifically what they plan to do for several days, and then the Swiss embassy, which handles diplomatic communications between the United States and Iran because we don't have direct relations, was very, very busy with the Iranians telling what sort of weapons they were going to use, where they were going to launch from, what the flight path was going to be, so that the Israelis and their allies could be capable of shooting down as much as possible so that there wasn't any damage done, so that there would be no need for another layer of retaliation. And that's exactly what went down. Between Jordan and the United States and the United Kingdom, everything was intercepted. Not one person was killed. Damage was pretty much limited to what was hit by a few of those artillery rockets coming in from Hezbollah, and that was it.
That's an optimistic report. That is optimistic right there. So that is new information that I don't think the market knows yet. Peter Zients, he has, lots of communications with the intel community all across the world, right? So what does that mean? What did he just say there that's really optimistic, that's really honestly bullish, right? To me, would kind of lead in a direction that would lead me to conclude that we would not go back down and test those 58 levels, that we have seen the price discovery to the downside that is adequate for the market right now to reprice Bitcoin in this moment. What did he say? He said the Swiss embassy, which is the go-between between Iran and the U.S. and other U.S. allies and Israeli allies, they were given the flight trajectory of the missiles fired from Iran. That is according to Peter Zients. What does that mean? That means that the offensive from Iran sending missiles to Israel was, in my opinion, likely, right, more of a show to their own citizenry, right, than it was to the American or Israeli audience. Obviously, it was trying to communicate something to an Israeli audience. But if you send missiles somewhere and then you tell them what the trajectory of the missiles are, and you know that they have an Iron Dome, it is now people are there, people have been hurt. So what I'm about to say is, again, this is all for investment purposes here. I'm not saying anything outside of an investment thesis here of why this is bullish. If you tell people where your missiles are headed, and you tell them, and you know that they have intercepting capabilities, right? That ultimately is that's not really an attack in the sense of we are going to roll out troops, we are going to fire missiles and not tell you what the flight trajectories are days in advance so that you can prevent casualties, so that you can prevent damage, so that there can be the prevention of an actual act of war. So Israel has said that they will exact the price for this action in their time that suits them. So what does that mean? I mean, that's scary, but it's not now, right? They're not firing back now. They're not sending Humvees full of troops into Iran today, right now. Now, that could change, and that is what is important right now. Do I wish that was important? No, I wish that we weren't talking about this at all. Genuinely, I do not want to talk about this at all. However, why did we get this downside? Some might say it's because it was purely a technical breakout to the downside. No, it was a technical breakout, right? But we were breaking out to the upside of a different pennant at the time, right? This is a breakout that was also came along with a gray swan event. Not quite a black swan because it was very highly anticipated, but it has had a negative effect. Also not a black swan because it's not even a 20% sell-off in Bitcoin, right? Okay, and you have an immediate V-shaped recovery quite quickly. So that's the way that I'm seeing it, right? I don't know that the market is privy to the information that the Swiss embassy was given the flight trajectory and other information days before, right? I think that what the media said, the kind of the headlines that we saw was that America was deploying assets to the region in anticipation of an attack. Well, what they didn't say is that, oh, and by the way, we know all the details about the attack, and the people who gave us those details was the people attacking Israel, Iran. So bullish, optimistic, right? I think that if you take a snapshot of all that information from Peter Zions that I just delivered, that is bullish, that is optimistic. Why? Because that shows that the intent of this escalation that led to a sell-off in crypto is ultimately limited. We have reached the limit of what that is, according to Peter Zions. Now, he could be wrong, and the market could be wrong, right? So the market could have inadequately priced this. The price of crypto assets, the price of all assets could be wrong relative to what just happened, right? It's possible that there should have been more of a sell-off to the downside, and the market's wrong, or Peter Zions is wrong, and there was no such information sent to the Swiss embassy. That also is possible. Okay, so let's keep moving here. Let's keep moving. Let's keep grooving. Again, I want to talk about these tensions and these military interventions and all this as little as possible. I feel that I have only addressed them to the extent that it is important for investment. I do not. It's not that I don't care. I do care quite a bit, right? But I do not wish to speak of these things, right? Okay. Now you might be looking at this and you might be saying, well, T-Shroom, this sounds like a good time to sell all my crypto and buy defense stocks, right? Buy Boeing, buy Northrop Grumman, buy BAH. Defense stocks set to profit from Iran-Israeli war. There are headlines everywhere, right? So this is a question that you might ask, especially if you're an American and you have the ability to go ahead and buy U.S. stocks. What I would say is that these tickers, right, BAH, LMT, and NOC, LMT, NOC, these are different defense companies. But let me pull up BAH. This is one that I've held for a long time, and what you guys are going to see is going to hopefully dissuade you from purchasing BAH or rotating out of cryptocurrency. Is that these are at highs right now, right? You've missed the boat. If you wanted to get into defense stocks, right? This is going back to 2018. You have missed the boat, right? It's only gone higher and higher and higher. Now you might look at this and say, well, but T-Shroom, this looks like a good asset to DCA into. It absolutely is, right? But this is not going to perform anywhere near as well as crypto. And to be honest with you, here at Investing Bros, this is not the kind of assets that we care about a whole lot. So why are you bringing it up, T-Shroom? Well, because I'm basically saying there's probably going to be a lot of talk about defense stocks, U.S. profit from the war, blah, 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 blah. Look, you might have an edge and think that these stocks are going to go higher, but I would say there's also a possibility that these headlines are being paid for by these defense companies, right? This thesis of a rotation into defense stocks and getting exposure to essentially profit from these wars and these tensions is just so that you can be their exit liquidity so that they can rotate into crypto and Bitcoin. Now that's overly optimistic. Probably they would rotate into tech, right? But just consider that just because it seems hot, just because it seems sexy and obvious to try to profit off war, doesn't mean that you're going to get completely eviscerated, get completely melted by a move lower in defense stocks. So think about it. Do your own research, absolutely, but that is not what I'm doing. I've held BAH for a while. I don't plan on selling, but it's not really a part of the investment thesis that I really care about too much moving forward. I'm seeing a lot of chat, so let's get into it. What is going on, chat? Thank you so much for tuning in. Tradefly said, GM Bros, hope everyone has a great day. Absolutely. Justin Eubank said, Yo Bros, GM, hope all is having a great Monday. I'm having a pretty good Monday here. Reporting for you all, doing some awesome research this morning, making sure everybody knows. Are we waiting for stock market to open too? We absolutely are here. We'll be open in about 7 minutes as I'm live. Crux saying what's up and saying smash those likes. Absolutely. Did China approve the ETF? Any news? Well, we're going to get to that here in just a second. Let's see. Atreyu said, I think it's time for price action to the upside with all the good news this week. Right, so it's possible. It's possible. All right, you guys are beating me to the punch here. Let's go ahead and jump in. ADA Ace said hit the like button. All right, so in summary, right, we have been in Bitcoin has been in a little bit of shock over the weekend, reacting to tensions in the Middle East, right? And now we are starting to see a recovery to that sell-off. And now the question is, okay, well, what's next? Well, I'd say the biggest narrative that is driving the markets right now, it's not the ETFs, okay? It's not the Hong Kong ETFs. It still is going to be those tensions. And if there is escalation, right? If there are missiles fired and they don't tell US and Israeli allies that what the flight patterns are, what the trajectories, what the number of missiles are, that is bad. That's really bad, and I would expect more selling if that was going to be the case. But as the market digests the new information, that all of that information was given to the Swiss embassy days before, right? I think that we'll see upside, we'll see recovery, because that ultimately is a sign that, yeah, Iran is still kind of wacky here with their actions, but at least they took measures to have the least amount of damage. It was very symbolic, and likely the Iranian population was the audience for that action, not so much Israel. Again, I'm painting with a very broad brushstroke and an issue that is live right now. You have to assume that probably 40 to 60% of what I just said may be misinformed, right? Because it's happening right now. We get the fog of war. But we did hear from Peter Zions. Peter Zions, a pretty reliable source for these types of things happening in real time, in my opinion. Okay, so let's move on. One more reason why potentially we may see more downside. Bitcoin price recovery lacks whale participation. On-chain data is showing. So blockchain analytics firm Into the Blocks large holder net flows indicator shows that addresses only owning 0.1%, owning at least 0.1% of Bitcoin circulating supply, which is a lot. That might not sound like much. That's a lot. Have added just over 3,000 Bitcoin, just under $200 million worth today. Okay, that's significantly less than the net inflows of nearly 80,000 Bitcoin, equaling 5.3 billion, seen a day after March 20's dip below 61,000. Okay, so if we go back to March 20th, was that the date that it said? March 20th. Right, we will see that this dip down below here, whales were buying much more aggressively, okay, in the billions, 5 billion, versus back here where they're not even cracking a billion, okay? So what does that mean? That means that the smartest money, the investors that have accumulated way more Bitcoin than you or I, likely, they are not buying this yet, right? Does that mean that we're definitely going to go lower? No, it doesn't mean we're definitely going to go lower, but you want those whales to come in and participate. You want them to come in and buy. And ladies and gentlemen, I think they will. But they haven't yet. Now, why will they? Because of these headlines. Yes, we've got the Hong Kong ETFs we'll get to in just a second, but Germany's largest federal bank, LBBW, is offering customers services with Bitpanda. Those services are crypto custody. This is very big. By offering crypto asset custody, we are positioning ourselves with a clear added value for our corporate clients while ensuring the highest security standards. Of course they are. So Bitpanda provides the necessary technical and regulatory infrastructure to offer our customers innovative and, above all, secure solutions in the area of digital assets. So, of course, Bitcoin and Ethereum will be traded there, and that is just yet another big move for adoption. Very big move. All right, drum roll, please. So the Hong Kong approves first batch of spot Bitcoin and Ether ETFs in drive to become a crypto hub. So I think I'm going to just go ahead and preface. I think this has a lot more to do with Hong Kong than it does crypto and Bitcoin. I think this is, and really the big question here is, what does the mainland think of this? What does Beijing think of this? How much of a role have they had in the approval of these ETFs? And I think that that's going to speak more towards the relationship between Beijing and Hong Kong than anything else. Because, newsflash, China has a live ban on crypto. The introduction of virtual asset spot ETFs not only provides investors with new asset allocation opportunities, but also reinforces Hong Kong's status as an international financial center and a hub for virtual assets. Unlike its neighboring Chinese mainland, broader crackdown on cryptocurrency trading and mining, Hong Kong has rolled out the welcome mat for crypto firms last year. So, man, there's all kinds of crazy relationships around the world with these different leadership structures. I just wonder how much longer these are going to be governmental structures, and when that transition is going to happen to private structures, if it does. I think ETFs could have more influential and important compared to that of Bitcoin, as investors have options to gain Bitcoin exposure with Bitcoin-related stocks like mining companies, but there are no ETF-related stocks as of now. So the ETH ETF, sorry, it was a little difficult to read because it had this weird pricing Python script put in here, and Ethereum ETF. So somebody's more bullish on the ETH ETF than even Bitcoin. Hong Kong's approval of the spot Ether ETF comes ahead of a U.S. decision and is a significant milestone in Hong Kong's journey to become a leading crypto hub, says Angela Ang, former regulator at the Monetary Authority of Singapore, senior policy advisor at the blockchain intelligence firm TRM Labs. With fewer alternatives to Ethereum exposure, we might say Ether ETFs attract more investor interest. So it's very interesting here. We got a celebratory video here to watch.
A lot of you guys have been asking about Bitcoin ETFs in Hong Kong. Well, check this out. There's a giant Bitcoin ad right now talking about the ETF that's imminent in Hong Kong. There's definitely a lot of attention going on here because at the end of the day, when these ETFs launch, they need people to buy, right? So more and more ads, more and more attention, and Hong Kong's trying to push itself to be the center of Web3. So in this financial hub with so many people, we're going to see more of this. I love you guys.
Super cool. Very bullish, right? Germany opening up crypto custody to the business class, to institutions there. And Hong Kong going ahead and opening up not only Bitcoin, but also Ether ETFs. They have been approved, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very bullish development in a very bearish time. It's a coincidence. It's a very crazy coincidence that these things would be happening at the same time. Of course, there's always the tinfoil hat that can be put on and to say, hey, what did the banks just do? What did the global elite just do? They pulled off yet another gray swan, pulled the market back, got a bunch of entries, and now we're probably going to go higher in crypto. It's possible that this is all coordinated, but man, it's mind-boggling to think of that. So I'm not going to. Except that I just did. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some other cryptos here. Let me tell you guys exactly what cryptos I bought during this dip. But before I do, I want to tell you all that we trust iTrust. We trust iTrust Capital with our crypto IRAs. If you are an investor in the U.S., right, it is best to invest through an IRA with crypto. That way you will pay less in taxes. And right here, you can see that they've got it on desktop and mobile. That's iTrust Capital. Well, folks, the cryptos that I bought over the weekend were Ethereum, Chainlink, and Ondo, right? These are really, really bullish in my opinion because of the moment that we're in. Ondo is the exception. Ondo, to me, has nothing to do with the moment that we're in. It has everything to do with the association with BlackRock and tokenization. Ondo up 16.7% today. Very nice. Also, one of the only coins that really didn't see too much of a sell-off here in this this big geopolitical tension moment. Ethereum absolutely saw a sell-off. Chainlink absolutely saw a sell-off. We're going to go and take a look at those much more in depth on the 3 p.m. stream. But here, I'll just briefly show you Ondo. So in the same time that Bitcoin was really seeing quite a bit of downside here, Ondo has been up, putting in new highs for this local highs, up 45%. Since where I drew that, let me get a better read here. So from its lows back here on April 12th, it rallied 66% in the live price to 54%, right? In the same time, This is Ondo, in the same time that Bitcoin was selling off and then starting to recover. Okay, so Ondo, is it some kind of crazy gem? No, it's actually quite valued quite highly. Okay, but that is going to be the smallest cap of the ones that I bought over the weekend. Okay, now if you have been a member of the Investing Bros YouTube, then you will have also gotten access to Discord, where we already talked about these. So you would have gotten earlier access to the coins that I bought during this dip. Did I buy any Bitcoin? No, I did not. I did not buy any Bitcoin today. I am likely to be buying MicroStrategies and Coinbase and CleanSpark, as these are going to be U.S. stocks that are going to do very well and are likely going to be undervalued here going into the market. Now, CleanSpark, let's go ahead and take a look at the U.S. stocks because the market's open. CleanSpark is getting a bit higher here. It's not selling off, right? So it is the U.S. stock market has sidestepped all of the volatility from the weekend. The crypto markets took on all the volatility. It's kind of crazy to think about there. I think there's a lot there to think about, to be honest with you. Let's take a look at Coinbase. Coinbase getting a bit higher. See, this is what Bitcoin looked like just a couple days ago, couple hours ago, right? 72 hours ago or whatever it was. We were just in that consolidation. Well, Coinbase never left it. It could see downside, or it could potentially get a bid here. Let's see what else. Let's look at MicroStrategies. So MicroStrategies is selling off a little bit here, down 1.3% to open the New York markets. But that's not too much in either direction. Let's take a look at the Dixie here just before we wrap up the stream. Dixie looking like it's continuing to push higher. Right. So there's a decent amount of stuff going on here that is pretty wild. Bonk. Let's take a look at Bonk. This was one of the coins that Crux of Crypto picked up here at the lows. If he picked it up somewhere down here, then he is up 20%. So good on you, Crux. Very, very
nice.
There we go. Great timing for that one. All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for tuning in and sticking around. My picks, again, were Ethereum, Chainlink, and Ondo. That's what I picked up this weekend. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments, what did you pick up during this dip, or did you sell for a loss? According to my Twitter poll that I put out, you did not sell for a loss. Pretty much everybody hodled. At least that's what they said in the Twitter poll that I put out. If you did not go ahead and participate in that, I believe the poll's still open. Go down to my Twitter at tshroom. It's this one right here. You're going to love it. That's where you can follow me on Twitter. Thank you so much for tuning in. Guys, if you are trading today, make sure you keep your stop losses tight. We'll be going live at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'd love to see you there. And if you're human, stay hydrated.
Trying to make paper, turn that batter to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shroom's news, got your word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that batter to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.